Girls, God's design, every line, every sign.
Welcome back to Thick Girl Theology, Brave Body Talks for Women of Faith. I am your host, Mia Deneen, and y'all, we have made it to episode 25. Woohoo! 25 episodes. And this episode is also the final episode in our series on intuitive eating. We have now walked through all 10 principles. We have talked about rejecting the diet mentality, honoring hunger, making peace with food, challenging the food police, discovering satisfaction, feeling fullness, dealing with our emotions, respecting the body, and finding movement that feels good. And today, we are closing the series with principle number 10, gentle nutrition. Now, I need y'all to pay attention to that first word, gentle, because nutrition has not always felt gentle for many of us. Most of us, when we think of nutrition, we think of charts and exchange lists and tables and counting calories and all of the things, right? Like, don't eat too many carbs, not too much sugar, keep things on track, or even starting till Monday. I think about the 2 times that I had to go visit a nutritionist. One was when my husband was diagnosed with diabetes and they needed to show him how to eat. And another time was when a doctor referred me for a quote unquote weight problem. And again, it was about this is how much you can eat, this is what you can't eat, and the additional things need to be worked off. Okay? So we have had nutrition preached to us like it is the gospel of thin. And after years of that, some of us cannot even hear the word nutrition without feeling like somebody is about to come watch our plate, right? Take some food off. Make it colorful. You need to have this many grams of protein. You need to have this many grams of fiber and only this many carbs, right? So, what I want to tell you is that we can care about our health without going to war with our bodies. All right? We want to care about our health. This is the temple that God has given us, but we can make choices that help us feel good without turning every meal into some kind of test that we either pass or fail. Like some kind of test that we either did well on or we failed, okay? That is what gentle nutrition is about. It's about care, it is about wisdom, and it is about learning how we do not have to put ourselves on trial when we eat. So, let's get into it. There's a reason gentle nutrition comes at the end of the intuitive eating principles. Because if nutrition came first, many of us, me included, might take it and build another diet on it. And we would just take the helpful suggestions and turn it into a rule. We might take this nutrition information and hand it right back to the food police in our minds to police us on whether we are showing up correctly or whether we're doing something wrong. So, before we could talk about gentle nutrition, we had to learn how to hear our own bodies. We had to learn how to hear hunger. We had to learn that fullness is not a failure. And we had to learn that we could listen to our own wisdom and make peace with food. Nutrition cannot be gentle if shame is still driving the conversation. Now, James 3:17 says, "But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits." So, I want you to understand that the wisdom that God has placed inside of you, when it comes to your plate, when it comes to your life, is peaceful and full of mercy. So if the voice guiding your food choices is cruel, mean, nasty, fearful, and constantly insulting you, I need you to question that voice, because God does not have to shame you into wisdom. His wisdom is full of mercy. So let's start here. There is no one size fits all diet. There is not one. I know the internet will try to convince you that somebody has finally discovered the perfect way that every human being on earth should eat, but that is not true. There is no one perfect way of eating that works for everybody. What works well for one person may not work well for you. Like I was looking a little bit ago, I was looking at this whole blood type diet thing, and I'm sure you've heard of it throughout the years. And even in the blood type diet, um, the originality of man is evident, that different people in your family, different people in your community, different people who might be your same size and weight, um, have different ways of eating that works well for them. And I also want to add that what works for your body in one season may need to change in another season. You may need to have a different kind of diet if you're in your childbearing years. You may need to have a different type of diet if you're perimenopausal or menopausal. And your needs can shift with your hormones, your health, your activity levels, your stress, your schedule, and your responsibility. And there may be a season when you have time to plan and cook beautiful meals. And then there may be a season when dinner is whatever you can put together before you fall asleep in your clothes. Let's just be real, right? There may be seasons when your appetite is stronger. For example, after an illness, many people have less of an appetite during an illness, and then when they get feeling better, their appetite changes so that they're more hungry. And that itself is designed by God. There may be foods your body handled well years ago that don't make you feel good now. And you are not failing because your needs change. It means that you are human. You are alive. And gentle nutrition is an ongoing process of discovery where you keep listening, you keep learning, and you make the proper adjustments. There's no graduation to this. There's nobody that's going to hand you a certificate and say, congratulations, you finally made it to the perfect diet. This is about relationship. Just like I was saying when we talked about movement as a partnership. This is about you getting in relationship with your body, and relationships require attention. So the first thing I want to say when I am approaching gentle nutrition is that everything can have a place. Everything can fit because different foods do different things. Some foods give us quick energy. Some foods help that energy to last longer. And some foods give us things like protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Some foods are just for comfort and pleasure. Some foods can connect us to our culture and those memories where we are transported to our grandmother's kitchen table. And some foods are just what we had time and money to get that day. Every food does not have to do every job all the time because it's what you do over time that really counts, all right? So, a cookie doesn't have to mean that you are bad and you're not allowed to eat it. And maybe a salad doesn't always meet your needs for the moment either. When you are really listening to your body, it will often tell you what it is calling for. So I've noticed that when I get busy and I forget to eat, my body starts calling for fast carbs like French fries, potato chips, something quick, something salty, something that is going to get some energy into me right now. And for a long time, diet culture taught us that looking at that craving means we don't have discipline. If we're coming home after a long day and we haven't eaten at all, and we grab that bag of potato chips because we don't want the salad at that moment, diet culture will say, look, see, you've messed up. You've ruined it. You've given in to your cravings. But what if your body is actually saying, excuse me, ma'am, we've been trying to get your attention for 3 hours, and now we're no longer requesting a light snack. We're no longer requesting a grilled chicken salad. We are any emergency. We need food now. That is something called primal hunger. Primal hunger can come from not eating enough, from skipping meals, or it can come from just getting busy and working through our breakfast and lunch. Maybe you've been ignoring your hunger all day, and the body may have begun whispering when you felt a little emptiness or you felt your energy dip just a little bit. But if you keep ignoring those signals, the body will get louder. And eventually it says, okay, since you're not listening, I'm going to turn this volume all the way up. And your food needs begin to feel urgent. That's when we may find ourselves in the drive-through, reaching for the fastest sources of energy available. But even that is a grace from God because our bodies are intuitive like that so that we do not starve. You may have a harder time noticing satisfaction or fullness in these times because your body is trying to make up for what it has been missing. It is not a lack of self-control. It is your body trying to keep you alive and functioning. So, when I have waited too long and my body is calling for those quick carbs, I need to give it exactly what it is needing at that moment. Now, we also have wisdom. And the Bible says that if any man lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives graciously. So we should use wisdom when we learn those patterns. And when we see that maybe 5 o'clock after we've gotten home is too late for us to start eating, then we can make the adjustments. We can say, hey, logic is telling me that I keep ending up in this drive-through because I'm forgetting to eat. So maybe next time I keep some fruit and nuts nearby. Maybe I pack a snack. Maybe I take the 15 minutes or 30 minutes that it's going to take to eat an actual meal with fat and protein and carbohydrates and vitamins. All right? The fries are not the villain. But sometimes we can make those things the villain when really our body is just trying to do what's best for us. So let's listen and keep shame out of the driver's seat. The next thing I want to let you know is that restriction makes food noise louder. And that is the reason why so many people that have dieted all of their lives talk so extensively about this food noise thing. I understand what it is, but I want to say that in many cases, probably in the vast majority of cases, it comes from restriction. Now, I remember one time my daughter was saying to me, on a restrictive diet. I was cutting out all sugar and carbohydrates from my diet in an attempt to lose weight once again. And I was in the kitchen in this wild frenzy trying to make some pancakes or some waffles or something, maybe a cake, I'm not sure, while using a substitute sugar and trying to use just almond flour and coconut flour so that I could cut down on my carbs, using some type of mayonnaise type substance so that I could cut out the butter. And I'm just in my kitchen frantically trying to make this cake. And my daughter comes into the room and she says, Mom, what are you doing? You don't even like sweets like that. And, I have thought about what she said kind of many times during this intuitive eating journey and in this journey that I'm on to accept myself and just get to a point of real body neutrality. And she was right. I was never really a big sweets person, but because I had gone on this strict low carb, no sugar diet, suddenly all I could think about was pancakes and brownies and cookie dough. All right? Pancakes, brownies, and cookie dough. I was thinking about foods that I did not even think about before the diet. And my daughter was looking at me like, who are you and what have you done with my mother? Because that restriction had made my food noise for those restricted foods so much louder. It had like turned the volume on amplify. And when you tell yourself that you can never have something again, your mind can become completely preoccupied with it. Now every commercial gets your attention. Every smell, every person eating that food gets on your last nerve. And you're trying to be holy and disciplined, and somebody walks past you with a warm brownie sundae, and you are in full on spiritual warfare. But what I want to tell you is that sometimes that warfare is unnecessary. Like this kind of warfare is unnecessary. And I want to free somebody today from it because it is really a burden that we do not need to carry. Sometimes your body is simply responding to restriction. And God has given your body a great deal of wisdom. And you can listen to your body and decide what it wants. There are no food groups in the Bible. There are no diets in the Bible outside of Levitical law. And because our body has been, God has entrusted our bodies with hunger and fullness and things that we like and we don't like and things that our bodies may be averse to. And we can get curious about what our body is asking for. We really can. We really can get curious about it. Have I eaten enough today? Have I been cutting out food groups? Am I physically hungry? And if I am physically hungry, what am I looking for that would satisfy that hunger? We might need to ask ourselves, am I tired? Am I stressed? Am I emotional? And would this food genuinely taste good right now? We want listening to your body to be a part of wisdom. We can ask God for wisdom about everything, including how we care about our bodies. And we can ask Him to help us understand when we are feeling something that is not physical hunger. When we're feeling an urge to eat, it could be something that we just need to get quiet about. We might need to get curious about it. We might need to get prayerful about it. And we can ask Him to help us recognize what is hunger, what is satisfaction, what is fullness, what is actually fear, and what is restriction. Sometimes wisdom says, eat now, because after that 2-hour meeting at your job, you're going to be ravenous. Sometimes wisdom might say, yes, you had a meal, but maybe that wasn't enough to satisfy, or what maybe it wasn't what your body needed to feel satisfied. Sometimes that craving might be trying to tell you something. Maybe your body needs salt. Maybe your body needs energy. Maybe your body needs some kind of vitamin or mineral or micro mineral that a certain food will help serve the purpose for. And sometimes wisdom might say, girl, you are at brunch with your girlfriends. Eat the waffle and enjoy it without fear and shame. Okay, now my next bullet point is that satisfaction matters. And I'm not going to begrudge this topic because we've talked about it. You can be physically full and still feel like you didn't really eat because maybe you wanted one thing and you ate everything except that thing. You wanted a sandwich, but you had the salad. You didn't eat the bread. You ate some cheese. You ate some nuts. Then you walked back into the kitchen and ate something else, and now you've eaten 5 things, trying to avoid eating the one thing that you actually wanted. Girl, eat the sandwich. You could have eaten the sandwich, enjoyed it, and moved on with your life with satisfaction as your reward. Satisfaction is what helps our eating experiences and many experiences in life feel complete. When you ate what you wanted and you ate it with gratefulness, and then you were able to notice when you've had enough of it, when you feel satisfied. But if you believe that this is the last time that you'll ever allow yourself to eat a sandwich with 2 pieces of bread and the mayo and the cheese and the meat, then you start thinking like, oh, I need to eat all of this because tomorrow I'm going back on this diet. This is the Last Supper mentality. That diet starts Monday mentality. So this Sunday becomes this farewell tour. And that's what we want to avoid. Giving ourselves full permission changes the game. When you know that the food will still be available tomorrow, next week, next year, whenever you want it again, you don't have to eat it like somebody's going to snatch your plate. And eating what satisfies you can actually keep you from continuing to eat in search of satisfaction. So all of these things matter. God gave us satisfaction for a reason. Food is nourishment, but food can also be a celebration. And we do not have to strip all of the joy out of eating to prove that we care about our health. Now, my next bullet point is that fullness also has a voice. Your body tells you when it needs food, and it also tells you when it is getting enough. Fullness is not always this huge stop sign that appears in the middle of your plate. Most times it is very subtle. You can feel and notice when you are getting full. You can notice when even a wonderful food doesn't taste quite as wonderful as it did when you started. Like, think about the first bite of something you really wanted. Like, I'm just going to use a Hershey bar, for example. Like, I don't eat a lot of Hershey bars, but there have been times when my kids or my husband have had a Hershey bar, and I say, hey, break me off a little piece of that. And I eat that little piece, and that chocolate starts to melt in my mouth. And I'm like, can I get one more? But the truth is, if I had gotten the whole Hershey bar and eaten the entire Hershey bar, then at some point the taste would lose some of its intensity. It may still taste good, but it's not going to hit the same way. And that shift is information from your body. When the urgency begins to leave, the body starts settling and you naturally slow down. We see it whenever we're eating a good meal, that first bite, oh, it might be so glorious. But after the 5th or 6th or 7th bite, we naturally slow down and we become less interested in the next bite. That is fullness speaking. There was no one exact bite where every person is supposed to stop. Some days you might finish the food. Some days you might leave food behind. And some days, especially if you are distracted, you may eat past comfortably full because the food was so delicious and you missed the signal. But that's okay because, like I said, this intuitive eating process is a lifelong process of learning and self-discovery. And so we can learn that maybe we don't need to eat while we are on our phones all the time. Maybe we don't always need to eat while we are watching TV. Sometimes when we're at a meal, we might need to turn down the volume on those distractions of life and just put our attention on being grateful and thankful for what God has given us so that we don't put ourselves in a position where we've gotten too full and now we're uncomfortable or sluggish. Again, this is information that we want to pay attention to. This is not ever to be condemnation. There is no condemnation. So sometimes when we're driving, we're scrolling, we're watching television, we're answering emails, we're eating while working, we're eating while standing up because we're cooking our dinner and we're hungry, so we're eating that. And when we do that, we may not notice those signals. We just weren't present enough because life is lifing. And that's okay. If our children are talking to us and we get into a conversation that is engrossing, we may keep eating and not know. But in real life, we can create small pauses. We can create some check-ins. How hungry am I now? What do I want? How does this taste? Am I really even enjoying this? Am I starting to feel full or do I want more? And we don't have to turn eating into a complicated mindfulness exercise. We are just learning to be present with ourselves. It is part of self-care. And we can use these moments to just breathe, be present, listen, and be grateful. Now, what can you add? What can you add is the question I want to ask you now. Because diet culture is all about taking away your calories, taking away carbs, your sugar, your fats, whatever, taking away your bread or the food that is has memories in it and is nostalgic or cultural. And gentle nutrition says, what can I add? Could I add more protein to my diet so that I am full longer? Could I add some fruit because it actually does make me feel good? Could I add more vegetables that I actually like? What kind of flavors or seasonings could I add? Can I add enough food to this plate or maybe sub out some things so that I'm not going to be hungry in 30 minutes? Or maybe I can add a snack earlier in my day so that I don't feel that primal hunger at 5:30. But the most important thing that we want to add is permission. We want to add permission to eat all foods, and we want to stay with that. Let the grace that we say before a meal become a moment of gratitude, presence, and peace. That God help us to understand that our needs may change through our different seasons in life. We can ask God to give us courage to adjust without believing that we are somehow a failure. And we want to ask God to heal every place within us that has been racked by shame. Now, you do not have to eat perfectly to care for your health, and you do not have to become smaller to be worthy. What I want you to do is I want you to keep listening. Keep learning. Keep asking God for wisdom and knowing that your body is God's work. So treat it like it. Until next time, this is Thick Girl Theology, Brave Body Talks for Women of Faith. Thank you so much for listening to this season.